Welcome back everybody to this week's video. Now, you know we love Norm very, very much, our big fan, and he's taken us on some really, really epic adventures. I mean, this time last year we got back from 7 weeks in the Arctic, so he's done us well. But last summer we didn't really use him as much as we wanted to in Cornwall. He's just a little bit big, not really well suited, and Cornwall seems to hate vans. So with that in mind, we may have done a little buy.
I talked her into this one. I'm very happy. So, this is our new to us 2009 Volkswagen Transporter short wheelbase. Now I know most people are like, well, why didn't you go long wheelbase? The answer is, this is Jess's new car. So this is going to replace the Mini that you all told us was too small for us to camp in. And yes, it was. So, we decided to buy this. It has 162,000 miles on it. The service history, this is not the whole file, but it's all Volkswagen stamped, and inside we have a separate yellow file with all lovely pockets in, including a brand new gearbox, clutch, everything. Now the only thing it's due is in the engine bay, and it's due a cam belt, because the one that's been in it has been in it for nearly 10 years and has done nearly 80,000 miles. Now if anyone knows these engines, that's over the interval. So currently we're playing with fire. But we're not driving it too much yet, are we? Because Jess filled up her Mini with a full tank of fuel on the way back from buying this.
Well,
so we need to use that because I ain't selling a car with a full tank of fuel.
And it's going to take me a wee while just to get used to being in a van, hey?
Yeah. Another controversial point is we've gone for one with barn doors. I say that like we had a choice. This came up in Perranporth, not far from where we live, at a price we couldn't say no to. All I'll say is it started with a 5. If anyone knows a transporter with bodywork as tidy as this, yes, there is a dent in that side, but other than that, it is clean. It has barn doors. Now, I wanted tailgate, but for a car park, that's kind of impractical. And you've got to remember, this is going to be daily use / day van. So it's going to have multiple uses. So having the barn doors is a far more practical option for day to day, because it only opens this far, not out here.
Also,
a big thing.
I think it's good for camping because when you've got them both open, it serves as a wind block sort of, doesn't it?
So one thing this van already has, as you can see, is glass. Now, if my lovely abled assistant opens the door, you can see it also has seats. But for any keen-eyed viewers, these are not transporter seats, because these are transporter seats. These are out of a Transit Custom and have had the rails retrofitted into the floor. That brings its own issues of how high the rails sit, but we'll get to that later on.
The lovely chap that we bought this van off assured us that he's already insulated the whole van with sheep's wool, and it is already carpeted, but that's a huge bonus for us because we would have had to insulate it. And plus, I've always wanted to do insulation with sheep's wool, so it'd be really interesting to see how this compares to our van that's done with PIR and the, what's it called?
Recycled bottle top.
And the recycled bottle top stuff to a natural insulation. So inside, it measures 1.5 by 2.5, so we should be able to get a nice, decent sized bed inside.
Now, walking around this, there is some slight bodywork that's required. So, there's a dent in the slider, no paint damage, but there is a dent, so that needs pulling out. And the other thing as well is there is some rust along the top of the windscreen up here. Now that I'm not too worried about because quite frankly you don't see the roof, so I'm going to sort that out and spray that myself, because even if it doesn't come out perfect as far as orange peel and all that sort of stuff, you're not really going to see it because the roof is ready to have a roof rack put on it, because that's our plan. Like I mentioned in last week's video, the one thing we want to do with this is go out with the kayaks, and that's what a lower van's going to allow us to do, and that's why we're going to be putting a roof rack on the top of this transporter. In here is about as typical as you would expect from a 2009 transporter. You've got the lovely Aztec half leather seats, and you've got aircon. Now for us, that was a must. We wanted aircon and cruise control. It doesn't have cruise, but it does have aircon. The cruise control retro kit for these vans is only £128. So that's something we'll be doing at some point. We've got a bigger stereo to go in with CarPlay. These are all things that you're going to be seeing in a later video. So the plans for in here, these are going to be going. I've already found a bargain of a seat base for this side. So this double seat's going to be going, and we're umming and ahhing about what seats to put in. So if anyone's got any ideas, chuck it down in the comments. Ideally with armrests, but
Not essential.
not picky. Now some of you may say Land Rover seats like we've got in Norm. However, they've nearly tripled in price since we bought those. I think we paid £200 for that set, and now I found a set last night for nearly £600. That's not going to be happening in this van. So yeah, any ideas, drop it down in the comments.
Can we take a moment also to appreciate how many years old is this van?
2009, so it'd be what, 17 years old?
And
16
how
years
clean is the interior?
Oh, literally, in here,
Seriously.
immaculate. I mean, anyone knows Volkswagens, cup holders break. Typically, that's just gone stiff on me. But literally, they're still sprung loaded. Everything works. No, they start breaking and hanging off. It's, yeah.
No major scuffs.
No.
She's pretty mint, isn't she?
It's really tidy. Literally, the only thing it needs is I need to do a cam belt on it. Which after opening the cover, I'll put some pictures on screen. If anyone knows what they're looking at, like, it's not horrendous, but there's a lot of dust inside the casing, which means that belt's worn. So, yeah. And I got told by a friend, these don't snap, they just strip teeth, which, great. As far as plans for this, obviously we mentioned it's going to be a daily as well as a day van. So, my plan is to build a bed that can go in the back, but doesn't exceed where the seats sit. Which means if we want to use it as a car, you'd have to take the bed out to convert it. We can just put the seats back in, and the bed stays then in the boot almost as a bit of a raised false floor. But then you whip the seats out and the bed is already there.
I think that would be pretty good, because I think the main theme for this van is going to be campervan elements that can easily go in and out, so it can easily become a van that we can take people around in.
Or
If we
take
need to.
materials around in, or whatever, reading between the lines of what I said in last week's video. The main thing we need to get sorted out on this is obviously, it looks very boring. Now,
There's nothing wrong with it, but
I already have wheels, free. I already have tyres, because we're going to rob those off the Mini to sell it. We have a lift kit on the way for it. Now, I will say, Jess wants it to stay all very subtle and boring. So,
we all know Alex isn't going to let me do that, don't we?
no, I'm not. So, I'm hoping to get a roof rack to put on it. Obviously, lift kit, wheels, tyres. I'd like to put a winch in it, but I want to hide the winch in the front bumper. So I want the number plate to flap down, so it's hidden and it doesn't
What do we possibly need a winch for? To pull the kayak back out the sea?
cut back to Arctic footage.
We're not going to the Arctic.
If they put the ferry on from Right, so there's meant to be a ferry starting from Newcastle to Bergen in the bottom of Norway. Now if they do that, that stops about 5 days worth of driving. That will be going to the Arctic at that point, if they put that on.
Honestly, I need help, guys.
Yeah, so that's the plan. Now my plan for underneath, in the back, is to hopefully build a bed that slides out, very similar to Jack and Mel's, which I'll overlay on screen now, with a slight twist. I want a kitchen in it that can be used outside or inside. Now obviously they don't have a fixed kitchen unit, which means when the bed is out, they have lots of space to move around, get dressed, etc., which is always a sticking point with these sorts of vans, because you have to do one job to do another. Yeah. Now, What I want to do is have a bed that pulls out from the back, so basically to where the seats are, so you'll sleep lengthways in it. But also, I'm going to have a double sliding kitchen unit. So essentially, you'll have the kitchen slide out the back on one shelf, and it'll be 2 stacked shelves, and it'll be able to pull out the other way through to the inside. So that means if we want to cook outside, we can cook in an outdoor kitchen, but the same kitchen then pulls inside and then allows you to cook with an indoor kitchen, because as you can tell, it's England and you require these things a lot. So yeah, it needs to be versatile, that if we go away in it to Scotland, Wales, etc., we can use it inside and out, and we don't have the typical issues of a small van with a constrained build inside.
So, as you can tell, Alex's little ADHD brain is going absolutely haywire at the minute, and he's got a lot of ideas. But to be honest, we haven't even owned it for a week.
No.
So the plan is very open. I haven't really thought about it at all yet. So we would really appreciate if anybody has done a transporter build to send us photos, on Instagram?
Yeah,
It would be
Instagram.
really good to give us some ideas, because we are loosey-goosey and welcome some inspiration.
Yeah, the one thing we do stipulate though is we want it to be able to be used as a car with the crew cab in it and as a camper van. So everything that's fixed needs to stay behind those rear seats. Now you may be wondering what we're going to do for electrical, and I want to do all electric cooking because we've been a big advocate for it, and to be honest, in Norm, it's been pretty good, really.
It has been faultless, but we do have 2 gas camping stoves that we could utilise in this, that we already have, that are free.
So, electric cooking is an option. And what I'd like to do in this is hide as much of it away as possible, because there is many places that you can hide things in this, like B2Bs, inverters, stuff like that, just from looking around. Now my aim is to get 2 batteries, one to go under each front seat, hence why we're going to be swapping to a single seat conversion in the front. That allows us 2 batteries to go under each front seat. The B2B I'm hoping to hide in the engine bay. There's a big gap where the batteries are on this. If we enclose that so it doesn't get wet, I can do that. My main aim is to get as much out of the living area and not be fixed as possible. So if we ever want to empty it and use it as a van, there isn't batteries, inverters and all that sort of crap in the way, but also it's just not in your living area. I want this to be as sort of simple inside as possible and have as much hidden as possible. So it'd be small, incognito, but mighty is my aim. And also cheap. That's got to be.
Yeah,
I'm not sure all those things go together. But
to be honest, we're hoping to spend as little as possible on this van, because in the grander schemes of life, we do need to still
save
put
money.
some money away.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be lavish. So if you're looking for some bougie build out, this isn't the place to be.
I don't know. It's going to be bougie.
Maybe bougie on a budget.
It's going to be bougie on a DIY budget. Like, I'm not going to go out and buy one of these ready-made beds. We're going to build it ourselves.
Yeah.
So, that sort of thing. I know this is probably the most converted van that's ever existed for camper vans. But we did look at a few different vans. So, we were looking at the French versions, weren't we?
Yeah.
I went and saw a Toyota Pro Ace, just the other side of Plymouth. Which was probably one of the most interesting car buying experiences in my life.
That's a whole nother story. Like, Alex could stand there for at least an hour and talk to you about that.
Yeah.
We've also looked at Vitos, but
We test drove one of those. We actually went to see one. One came up locally to us that was really well priced.
they were good, well sized in the back, but we didn't like the driving position. It just wasn't for us.
We've always wanted a Vito. Now, one thing that really put us off is the clutch is like an on and off switch. The way I can describe it is like an unsprung clutch in a track car. And for Jess to drive, that would become very annoying, and I'd hear none of the end of it, basically.
Yeah, I just
So,
wanted something that's easy to drive, like a car.
Yeah.
And this was recommended to us as
Jess
basically
and
like
John.
driving a car.
Jess and John actually recommended. He used to work on a lot of goods vehicles and stuff like that. He's done a lot of servicing on stuff like this. And John recommended that the Transporter was probably the best car-like small van that we could go for. Having had the French stuff before, we were looking at it because we knew it, and it's cheaper ultimately. I mean, one of those on the similar mileage as this, you'd probably pay half for. But we wanted to do something a bit different, and when this came up in Perranporth, which is only, an hour from us,
Yeah, it's not far.
we had to go and have a look. The guy was very nice, and cheekily did us a bit of a deal and threw in the bike rack that you'll have seen under the bed.
And
So-
yeah, he's taken really good care of it. He had it since it was 6 months old.
Yeah, so before that I believe it was a demonstrator from what I can see in the service history, and then he's had it from 6 months old.
So she's been very well loved.
Yeah.
And hopefully will continue.
We will continue that, and we're very much looking forward to experiencing a transporter, because it's something I've always wanted. I'm happy we've got a transporter, and it does drive like a car. Now I will point out this only has 100 horsepower, so it will be getting mapped, no question about that. We've already done slow vans, this will not stay as a slow van, this will be mapped and be faster. But yeah, we've got a lot of things coming for this, and we're very excited to get started. Now, one thing I'm also going to point out is the videos now are not going to be sequential for this. We're now away for the next 2 weekends. So we
In
just
the big van.
in the big van. So
as
we
much
just
as Alex wanted to put a mattress in the back of this van and just slum it and that's it, I was like, why on earth would we do that?
yeah.
You're mad.
We also don't
So
have a
we're
heater
taking
in
a big
this. And where we're going is set to be, I think tonight is going to feel, yeah, we leave tonight. Today's Friday, this goes out Sunday. So it feels like -2, I think, tonight where we're going.
Yeah.
And without a diesel heater, I think that would just be miserable. And we have the big van, so we may as well
So we
take it.
compromised and went with what I wanted to do.
Every man knows that conversation that's just happened. But yeah, we're very excited to get on with this build. We're looking forward to it being something new, and to be honest, we're looking forward to having something smaller that to use in Cornwall is just going to be so much less of a nightmare than that van, because height restrictors are only getting more and more common now.
So we'll pick up this with you guys again in a few weeks.
I'm hoping to have a lot of parts by then for the outside. So that first video should be quite a big transformation in the first video.
God knows what's going to happen, but thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and we'll catch you next week.